Hello there.
Welcome to our show today. We have been talking about how we identify and how it can be limiting and keep people held back.
Yeah, so we get a choice of how we identify, how we show up in the world, and we've got some stories to show how it's come up for us and how it can come up for you as well.
When I was growing up, there was, you do those icebreakers of like, what's the adjective that is like the same letter as your name? And I would always be tired Trudy, like every single time I'd be tired Trudy. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I was like, why am I tired all the time? And I was like, oh my goodness, I've always identified as being tired, Trudy. There's so many other adjectives, but the adjective I always went with was tired. And it was like this, yay, I'm like so tired. And like it just was a weird thing to observe later in life that I had been doing all along. Did you ever have a moment where you did the same thing similar, where you had an adjective?
Yeah, and I just want to pick on that, like this weird thing. And it's not
Yeah.
weird. It's like it's really normal for us to pick a word and to kind of go with it. And like tired was something that that you felt, and like people bond over being tired, and like that makes sense. Like, okay, yeah, we're tired, life's hard, it's like we've got lots to do all the time, and it's something that people can be. So I just wanted to say,
Yes.
like, for our listeners, like if you've picked this word and it's like you're having this realization with us now, like it's not silly, it makes sense because society tells us that we should be feeling tired or we should be working hard and life's hard and like work hard, play hard, and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted
Right.
to point that out. But yeah, so mine was cute Claire. And I didn't realize until um we I got thinking about it. Like I hated people like calling me cute and seeing me as this, like, because I was like really small, and even at primary school I was the one that people used to pick up and be like, oh, she's so cute. And I really didn't like it. I was like, no, I'm like more than just cute. I'm like a real woman that can do stuff. And like I that's what I was identifying as. So that's what I was coming across as. And that was what I always chose without realizing, like, oh, I don't like it, but I'm always choosing that for myself. Um, yeah, go on.
What's interesting here is that you say cute Claire, and I'm like, oh, that's actually not that bad until you kind of describe it a little bit more. And it's like, to me, I pick tired. So to me, my perception of tired is like a negative, whereas cute is like a positive. And that may or may not be true, but that's my perception. But I can see where you want to say something intelligent because that's who you are all the way around, and that cute part would kind of irritate me. So I can kind of see that. So it's just a interesting perspective because I would hear the word cute and I was like, that's not that bad. Like, why are you so upset about that? So that's really fun.
Yeah, so it was that the like cute, like I'm doing the faces if that makes sense. Like small, like playing small, I think it
Yeah.
was. And you mentioned intelligent, and I saw myself as someone that wasn't very intelligent, that um like couldn't really have those intellectual discussions with people. And I think back, and it was because that was my identity of who I was.
Well, it's
And
like fitting in that box. Like you're more than just cute, Claire. I was more than just tired, Trudy, but like, yes, it was only a game of an icebreaker, but how much did we fit into that box of being like that being who we were? And
yeah,
that's
it's
not who
like
we
that
are.
becomes us, not just for that morning, but for our whole lives.
Yeah.
And I worked in sales, and I remember a boss saying to me, oh, you're not as stupid as you make out. And I was like, I was
Wow.
offended. I was like, what do you mean? Like I didn't know I came across as stupid. And I think it was this, like, not being assertive, not standing up, not showing like my true self. Because actually I was really good at sales, and I spent a lot of the time at the top of the leaderboard. People trusted me, people wanted to buy things from me. And it it was that shying away, like, oh, I'm just like innocent Claire and I can't do anything wrong. And it that was part of my identity, and in a lot of ways it kind of helped who I was. It made me not as what's the word?
I
Like
think you nailed it earlier when you said playing small. I think that's the perfect
yeah,
definition is like,
and like not intimidating. So
yeah,
not a threat to anyone. So okay, yeah, you can come along because like you're not gonna take away our like light or whatever. Um, so it worked, and then I decided that wasn't who I wanted to be anymore. And I think this is the crux of what we're talking about. I got to change that. So I didn't
mhm,
identify as cute Claire anymore. And now if anyone asked me, like my words would be like courageous Claire or like something like much more like charismatic, something bigger and
yes.
brighter. And it's like, oh, I'm not afraid to like shine anymore. And then that just like plays out in my whole life and it changes things.
Yes, similar for me, I'm now transformation Trudy or transform Trudy because that actually is true just in my life, and I won't go down that rabbit hole, but it is one of those things where it is you start to embrace more and you start to like when you said the word courageous for you, I really felt like this my body actually tingled because it was this like bigger capsulation of who you are as a person, not just in a box, but like a bigger game if you want to say it that way, where it's just you're fully showing up and playing big and not just playing small.
Yeah, and I
So,
like I can feel it. Like I sat up, I said courageous Claire,
yeah,
and it's different from being that like, oh, I'm cute Claire. Like you shrink, you hide to like I'm like standing up tall. I'm different in myself and my body. And and like you can play around with that as like as a listener. Like there's like a power pose where you put your hands
right.
on your hips and it's what people do before they go into a big meeting to like elevate themselves and make them feel powerful and it really works. Like try it now, like hands on your hips, telling you the audience here. If you can't see me, that's what we're doing, and you just automatically feel like better about yourself and bigger and like ready to take stuff on in a different way.
Mhm. Absolutely. It's interesting that you came with the power pose because I was thinking it also too as you were talking about being courageous or charismatic. So it was beautiful. I'm going to actually transition into something that actually happened where this identity actually showed up in a very interesting way. I was having a conversation with a client and she was sharing about a couple friends that she was worried about because they had an MS diagnosis and they had MS actually. And she was sharing with me all of her worries, her concerns. She didn't know what she was going to do. And I had actually paused her and shared with her, it was like, I actually got a diagnosis back in April with that. And yes, she had this face of like, oh my goodness, like everything I just said was probably offensive. And I had reassured her that was not the reason I had brought that up. But it was so interesting because the way she was talking about her friend, she was talking in a way of like, they have it, like that's how they were. But then when I was talking about it, I kept saying, I have a diagnosis of it. And I've been clear since I got a diagnosis of it that I don't own that. And we had this really beautiful, rich conversation where I was able to give her a different perspective of like, yes, I know I got a diagnosis, but it's not who I am as a person. And I think this shows up in so many different ways for people, maybe not in the way that I'm sharing, but in a way that we take on the identity. I will never, for the record, say I have the thing that I refuse to say. So you have to fill in those words, but I will always say my diagnosis of, because when I'm in that space, there is more power for me to be able to choose how I want to show up, knowing that I have a diagnosis. What can I do to keep my body in the best possible place with having that diagnosis rather than identifying with having that autoimmune disease. So for me, it's just, it really is one of those places of I don't identify with it. And it was just this really rich conversation of seeing how she didn't understand what I was talking about initially, but then had through the conversation started to get, oh, you okay. And she gets to try it on.
Yeah. And so what do you think the difference is? Like, say you did own it as like, oh, I have MS now, that's who I am, to the way you're showing up now. What's the difference?
The biggest difference I see is I have more space to play now. Like I have really worked on my own personal diet with this, and I've made choices because I know that it has a lot of inflammation. So the big difference is I have power by not owning it and having it. Like there's more for me to do if I don't embody it and be it. Like if I'm just being it, then I can be like, oh, I hurt, and this is going on, rather than really stepping outside of that and really being able to be like, I have a diagnosis, and these are things that I want to do to keep that diagnosis not take space up in my body. That's the biggest part for me that I see the difference is I don't identify with it.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, it's like if you become this person that has MS, then it's oh, I've got all this pain. I have to maybe not do the sports that I used to love, or maybe stay in more, or not like exert myself, not go on adventures. And then the less you do those things, I guess the more you worry about doing them. And it just takes over your life and like snowballs into this. Okay, now I'm just someone with MS that has a limited life, where you've decided, actually, I'm going to listen to it. I'm not going to hide from it. I'm going to do what I can to not have the inflammation, to eat better, which is just great anyway, and
Right.
deal with things as they come and not live in this box of I have MS now, my life is over.
The biggest part is it just gives me space to notice everything around me and to really be able to just be an active participant rather than just who I identify with and just be like, oh, that's me. And I just it's spaciousness, and that's the biggest piece for me.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for sharing. So, what would you say the biggest takeaway is for our listeners?
The biggest takeaway is being mindful of the words that we are using and choosing to do, such as when we say I am something, we are choosing that to be our identity. So when we're saying those words, we need to be mindful of that. If you want to be something, make it be something positive. I think the one that comes to mind is like, I'm lazy, is one that I've heard myself
Mm.
say so many times in life. When you say I am and then lazy, like you're really identifying to being lazy. So why don't you say I am inspiring? That would be so much more of like a different shift of identity than I am lazy. So really being mindful of the words that you say because they really create your reality. And so, do you want to be lazy or do you want to be inspiring? I know I love being inspired, but I also understand at a certain point in time in my life, I felt like I was lazy. And so that's what I identified with. But I can tell you where I'm currently at, it's very different. And it's really in a space where I am in that space of inspiring. So just being mindful of your words and really own the things that you want to own and play a big game. Life is short. Enjoy it all. Do you have any big takeaways from the conversation that we're taking today?
Like life, how we show up is all made up. And it actually, a lot of it doesn't even start with us. It comes from like outside. So we've heard like, oh, you're just lazy. You're you're always late, you don't care, you're shy, you're whatever. Like society will tell us, our parents, our friends, whatever, will give us these labels, like not often meant to be mean. And like an offhand comment we can take and it can become our identity. So it's really about, okay, what am I identifying with? So for me, it was this cute Claire, like playing small. For you, it was tired Trudy. And it's at one point we both decided, like, oh, actually, we're in control of how we're showing up. What do we want to be instead? And like you can do that too. Like anyone can do that. How do I want to be in the world? And what are the words that will help me create that? And to start saying, I am those words today, just like you said. So I am confident. I am courageous. I am amazing. I'm talented. I'm creative. Start saying those words to yourself today and see how that changes your life. Like it's amazing.
Yes, I just want to re-echo or echo your statement of like it's all made up because I think that is so powerful. And I want our listeners to really understand like it is all made up. Like you get to actually choose what you want to make up. So do you want to make up like the lazy? Do you want to make up the inspiring? What do you want to make up? Like you have so much more power, and it is just this beautiful place that you can make up what you want rather than what you don't want and really focus on that. So thank you for saying that it's all made up because I think it's such a
Mhm.
fabulous point.
Amazing. So yeah, go be wonderful.
Yes,
Yeah.
much love.